Hello dear students, welcome to this lecture on types of conflict. I'm delighted to have you all here as we discuss a topic that is highly relevant to both our personal and social lives. Conflict is a natural and unavoidable part of human interaction. Whenever individual or group with different backgrounds, beliefs, values or interests interact with one another, differences are bound to arise. These differences, when expressed through disagreement or opposition, take the form of conflict. However, conflict is not always negative. What truly matters is how we understand conflict, how we respond to it, and how effectively we manage and resolve it. Objectives of this lecture are: number one, the concept and significance of various types of conflict. Number two, recognize and differentiate between different forms of conflict. Number third, explain the characteristics, causes, and consequences of interpersonal, group, and institutional conflict. Number four, develop an informed and responsible approach toward managing conflict constructively in real life situations. And number five, the impact of different types of conflict on individuals and society. By the end of this session, you will be able to understand types of conflict not only as a theory but also as a life skill that can be consciously developed and applied in real life situations. Let us begin by understanding the concept and significance of various types of conflict in social contexts. Dear students, conflict is an essential component of social existence due to the fact that society comprises individuals and groups with diverse backgrounds, beliefs, interests, values, and objectives. Whenever people engage within families, educational settings, workplaces, communities, or broader social systems, disparities in opinions and expectations naturally emerge. When these differences lead to tension, disagreement, or opposition, they manifest in the form of conflict within social contexts. Conflict should not be viewed solely as violent confrontations or overt disagreements. In many social circumstances, conflict may manifest in latent or subtle forms, such as dissatisfaction, resistance, reluctance to cooperate, or unspoken dissent. Hence, social conflict is a process that reflects deeper social relationships, power dynamics, and interaction patterns among individuals and groups. Various types of conflict arise at different levels of social interaction. Interpersonal conflict takes place between individuals and is often shaped by personality differences, emotional reactions, communication styles, and personal values. Group or community conflict occurs when collective interests, identities, or resources are perceived to be in competition. Such conflicts can stem from social categories like class, caste, religion, language, or ethnicity. Institutional or structural conflict surfaces when social systems, rules, or policies bring about inequality, exclusion, or power imbalances, leading to dissatisfaction and resistance within society. Each type of conflict possesses its own significance and meaning within society. Interpersonal conflicts underscore the importance of communication and emotional insight. Group conflicts highlight issues related to identity and social cohesion, while institutional conflicts reveal deeper structural challenges within society. Recognizing these meanings allows individuals to perceive conflict not merely as an issue but as an indication of underlying social problems that warrant attention. A comprehensive understanding of the concept and significance of various types of conflicts helps individuals critically interpret social realities. It cultivates awareness of social diversity and complexity, promotes empathy towards differing viewpoints, and supports informed decision making. Such comprehension is vital for fostering responsible attitudes and constructive methods for managing conflict in ways that encourage social harmony, justice, and sustainable social relationships. At a broad level, societal conflict reveals fundamental structural issues such as economic disparity, political oppression, social injustice, and cultural exclusion. These conflicts engage large segments of society and frequently result in collective actions, protests, or calls for change. Societal conflict is essential for social progress as it confronts unfair systems and advocates for equality, rights, and social justice. The importance of various conflict types lies in their capacity to highlight underlying social truths. Conflict brings to light unmet needs, imbalanced power dynamics, and marginalized voices within society. Rather than being solely detrimental, conflict can act as a driving force for conversation, reform, and societal transformation. A comprehensive understanding of the different conflict forms allows individuals and organizations to react thoughtfully and responsibly. Dear students, now let us explore the different forms of conflict such as interpersonal, group, and institutional conflict. Dear students, conflicts in society take on various forms determined by the level of interaction and the nature of the involved parties. Identifying and distinguishing among different types of conflict is crucial for understanding social relationships and the dynamics that affect human behavior. Each category of conflict, such as interpersonal conflict, group conflict, and institutional conflict. All these forms of conflict have unique characteristics, causes, and outcomes that differentiate it from the others. Now, coming to the interpersonal conflict. Interpersonal conflict refers to disputes between two or more individuals and typically arises from personal relationships. It often stems from differences in opinions, attitudes, values, expectations, or communication styles. Misunderstandings, emotional responses, mistrust, or unmet expectations frequently contribute to interpersonal conflicts. Examples encompass disagreements among family members, conflicts between friends, or misunderstandings among colleagues in the workplace. Such conflicts have a direct impact on personal interactions and emotional well-being. In order to have thorough understanding of conflict, let us try to understand some features of interpersonal conflict, such as conflict occurs between individuals. Interpersonal conflict occurs between individuals when two or more people have disagreements stemming from their differing opinions, values, goals, or expectations. These individuals interact directly within social contexts such as friendships, family units, workplaces, or romantic relationships. Since the conflict is inherently personal, it has a direct impact on the relationship between those involved. Number two, direct interaction and communication. A key characteristic of interpersonal conflict is the direct communication among the parties involved. The conflict manifests through verbal confrontations, arguments, disagreements, or miscommunications during interactions. It can also be conveyed through non-verbal cues such as body language, facial expression, or tone. Number three, emotional involvement. Emotions are a fundamental aspect of interpersonal conflict. Feelings like anger, frustration, jealousy, hurt, or resentment can arise when people perceive themselves as misunderstood, disrespected, or threatened. This emotional involvement can heighten conflict, leading individuals to respond impulsively instead of thoughtfully. Number four, differences in perceptions or interests. Interpersonal conflict often arises from differing perceptions, beliefs, or interests. Each person interprets situations based on their own experiences, values, and expectations, leading them to believe their viewpoint is valid. These differences may pertain to goals, priorities, roles, or responsibilities. When individuals do not acknowledge or respect alternative perspectives, misunderstandings are likely to grow. It is vital to recognize that multiple viewpoints can coexist to effectively resolve conflicts and foster mutual respect. Now, coming to the causes and consequences of interpersonal conflict. Some of the causes of interpersonal conflict are poor communication, personality differences, unmet needs and expectations, competition and jealousy, stress and external pressure. Now coming to the consequences of interpersonal conflict. Consequences of interpersonal conflict may be negative or positive. Negative consequences include emotional distress, breakdown of relationships, reduced productivity, poor mental and physical health. Positive consequences include improved understanding, personal growth, strengthened relationships, and better communication skills. Another important form of conflict is group conflict. Group or community conflicts arise when disagreements or tensions occur between various social groups rather than among individuals. These conflicts typically emerge when groups feel that their identity, values, or lifestyle are being threatened or overlooked. Competition for scarce sources such as land, employment, education, or political power often exacerbates these conflicts. Social divisions based on caste, religion, ethnicity, language, or economic status can increase misunderstandings and distrust among groups. Historical grievances and imbalanced power dynamics significantly influence the emergence of group conflicts. When one group believes it faces discrimination or exclusion, feeling of injustice and resentment can intensify. Media representations and political agendas can sometimes exacerbate these issues by perpetuating fear or stereotypes. Group conflicts impact not only the involved parties but also disrupt social harmony and cohesion. If these issues remain unresolved, they can escalate into violence, societal fragmentation, or enduring animosity. To effectively manage and mitigate group conflicts within society, constructive dialogue, mutual respect, and inclusive policies are crucial. In order to have thorough understanding of conflict, let us try to understand some features of group conflict, such as collective involvement. Group conflicts predominantly involve collective entities such as communities, social classes, ethnic and religious groups, political parties, or professional associations rather than individual persons. In these disputes, individuals act not only based on their personal motivations but also as representatives of their group identity. Their beliefs, actions, and decisions are influenced by the group's shared norms, values, and expectations. Number second, shared goals and interests. A key characteristic of group conflict is the existence of mutual objectives, beliefs, and interests among group members. These shared goals, such as economic stability, political representation, cultural acknowledgement, or social standing, foster strong internal unity and loyalty. While this solidarity promotes cooperation within the group, it also heightens rivalry with opposing groups whose goals are seen as incompatible or threatening. As each group strives to safeguard or advance its collective interests, competition intensifies, often resulting in entrenched positions and a lower readiness to negotiate. Number third, us versus them mentality. Group conflicts frequently create a marked us versus them perspective, where members distinguish between insiders and outsiders. This psychological splitting encourages favoritism toward the in-group and hostility toward the out-group, nurturing stereotyping, prejudice, and distorted interpretations of others' behavior. The opposing group may be perceived as a uniform entity with negative characteristics, disregarding internal diversity or valid concerns. Number 5, power and resource orientation. Numerous group conflicts fundamentally revolve around power dynamics and the competition for scarce resources. Groups may contest for access to land, job opportunities, political power, social advantages, or economic resources. Power disparities can exacerbate conflict when dominant groups attempt to retain control, while marginalized groups seek equity and inclusion. Such conflicts are not solely symbolic but structural, reflecting broader societal patterns of inequality. Now, coming to the causes and consequences of group conflict. Causes of group conflict are competition for limited resources, differences in values, beliefs, and ideologies, social inequality and discrimination, poor communication and misunderstanding, and organizational and structural factors. Consequences of group conflict may be negative or positive. Negative consequences include social division and polarization, violence and destruction, psychological impact, economic and institutional damage, reinforcement of prejudice and stereotypes. Positive consequences include group solidarity and identity, social change and reform, and improved intergroup dialogue. Now coming to the institutional conflict. Institutional or structural conflict arises from how social institutions like government entities, educational systems, legal frameworks, healthcare services, and workplace organizations operate and are organized. Unlike conflicts between individuals, institutional conflict is rooted in formal regulations, policies, procedures, and power dynamics that influence social interactions. These conflicts emerge when institutional arrangements produce inequality, injustice, exclusion, or uneven access to resources and opportunities. Often individuals or groups feel sidelined not due to personal disagreements but because the system itself benefits certain groups while disadvantaging others. Examples of such conflicts include public opposition to government policies seen as unjust, student activism against biased educational practices, labor disputes regarding inadequate wages or working conditions, and legal battles challenging discriminatory laws. Institutional conflict underscores the disparity of power between those making decisions and those impacted by institutional choices. It also highlights how inflexible rules and bureaucratic procedures may overlook social realities and the needs of individuals. Dear students, let us try to understand features of institutional conflict by describing some main points such as institutional conflict is formal in nature. Institutional conflict arises within structured and organized systems governed by rules, laws, and regulations. Institutional conflict involves authority and power. It typically includes disputes concerning control, decision-making authority, jurisdiction, or responsibility. Institutional conflicts are long-term and complex. Such conflicts usually endure for an extended period due to the deep-rooted nature of institutions, which are often resistant to change. Institutional conflicts are rule-based. Conflict is expressed through official processes such as legal cases, policy discussions, strikes, or administrative decisions. Institutional conflict affects large groups. Unlike interpersonal conflict, institutional conflict impacts societies, communities, or entire populations. Now, coming to the causes and consequences of institutional conflict. Causes of institutional conflict may include overlapping functions and roles, power imbalance and authority struggle, conflicting goals and ideologies, poor communication and coordination, resource competition. Consequences of institutional conflict may be negative or positive. Negative consequences include administrative inefficiency, public inconvenience and unrest, loss of trust in institutions. Positive consequences include institutional reform and improvement, checks and balances, clarification of rules and laws. Dear students, clearly differentiating interpersonal conflict, group conflict, and institutional conflicts help us in identifying the specific type of conflict, analyzing its underlying causes, extent, and effects, fosters effective and responsible responses to conflict, promoting informed decision making, understanding social situations, and constructive management of conflicts across diverse social contexts. Dear students, now let us try to understand the impact of different types of conflict on individuals and society. Different types of conflict affect individuals and society in different ways. For example, interpersonal conflict may cause stress and anxiety but can improve communication when resolved. Group conflicts can strengthen identity but may fragment communities. Institutional conflict exposes injustice and can lead to long-term reforms. Conflict, when unmanaged, leads to division and unrest. When managed responsibly, it becomes a tool for dialogue, growth, and social transformation. Dear students, let us reflect on our final objective to develop an informed and responsible approach toward managing conflict constructively in real-life situations. This means learning to understand the real causes of conflict, being aware of our emotions and responding thoughtfully rather than reacting impulsively. When we communicate clearly, listen with empathy, and choose peaceful strategies such as negotiation and compromises, conflicts become opportunities for learning and growth. By applying these skills in our daily lives, we can build healthier relationships, promote cooperation, and contribute to a more respectful and harmonious society. To conclude, we can say that this lecture helped us to understand the meaning and importance of conflict in social life. We learned that conflict naturally arises due to differences in values, interests, beliefs, and social positions. By studying various types of conflict, we were able to distinguish between interpersonal, group, and societal conflicts clearly. We also discussed how conflict can have both negative and positive effects. When handled poorly, it may lead to tension, division, and unrest. However, when managed constructively, it can promote dialogue, awareness, positive change, and social unity. Thus, understanding the types of conflict is essential not only for sociological understanding but also for developing critical thinking, effective communication, and responsible citizenship. Hope you have understood well. Thank you for the day. See you soon in the next lecture.